All right, so, we love diving into the stuff you send our way. And this time around, it's all about achieving goals.
Yeah.
And we noticed this really interesting theme popping up over and over.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like habits, those everyday things we do, might actually be way more important than that feeling of motivation, you know?
It's true. And I bet a lot of people listening can relate to that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've all been there, right? You get that burst of energy and excitement to start something new. Maybe it's getting in shape, finally tackling that project you've been putting off, or picking up a new skill.
Absolutely. It's like that New Year's resolution energy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're all gung-ho on Monday, like, this is it, I'm changing my life. But then by Wednesday, poof, gone.
Gone.
It can be so frustrating.
It really can. And I think that's what makes this topic so fascinating. Why does that initial motivation fade so fast? And what can we actually do to keep making progress even when we don't feel like it?
That's the real question, isn't it? It is. So for this deep dive, we're going to try and unpack this whole motivation versus habits thing and see if we can't find some more reliable strategies for actually achieving our goals.
Let's break it down then.
Yeah.
What makes motivation so unreliable in the first place?
Well, when you think about it, motivation is kind of like this burst of energy, right?
It is like a sudden surge.
Yeah, but when you look closer, it's often tied to things that are totally out of our control, like how you're feeling that day, your surroundings, even the weather.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Even just having a good cup of coffee can give you a temporary boost.
Exactly. So it's
Yeah.
much more reactive than proactive. And that's where the trouble starts.
Yeah, if you only take action when you feel motivated, you're going to be all over the place.
It's like trying to drive a car that only runs when it feels like it.
Exactly. You're not going to get very far.
You're going to be stuck on the side of the road a lot. Think about it like those New Year's resolutions. Gyms are packed in January. Everyone's motivated. But by February, it's back to normal.
Because that initial motivation fizzles out.
Right. And the same thing happens with journaling, waking up early, all those things we try to make stick. It's like we're relying on this shaky foundation.
And then we end up feeling like failures when we can't keep it up.
Yeah, which is totally not fair to ourselves.
Yeah.
So what if instead of beating ourselves up for lacking willpower, we focused on something more stable, something that doesn't come and go like the wind?
We're talking about habits, right?
Exactly. Habits are the key here. They're like the solid ground we can build on, even when the motivation storm clouds roll in.
So let's talk about what a habit actually is.
Well, simply put, it's a behavior that's become automatic through repetition.
Yeah.
It's something you do without even thinking about it, like brushing your teeth or checking your phone first thing in the morning.
Or locking the door when you leave.
Yeah, exactly. You've done it so many times, it's just ingrained in your brain.
And there's a surprising amount of our day that's taken up by these automatic behaviors.
Oh, yeah. A study from Duke University found that around 40% of our daily actions are habits, not conscious decisions.
Well, 40%. That's almost half our day running on autopilot.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it. And here's the thing. Those habits, whether we realize it or not, are shaping our lives. They're either helping us move towards our goals or subtly pulling us in other directions.
That's a powerful thought. They're working for us or against us all the time.
And that's where things get exciting. Because if we can learn to design our habits intentionally, we can basically create a system that keeps us moving forward even when we don't feel motivated.
It's like having a secret weapon against procrastination.
Exactly. Like having a personal assistant in your brain who just gets things done.
I like that. So how do these habits actually form in our brains? Is it really just doing something over and over?
Well, there's more to it than that. There's this neurological loop at play called the habit loop.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's like a 3-step process, right?
Yeah, exactly. First, there's the cue, which is like a trigger that tells your brain to start a behavior. This could be a specific time of day, a certain place, or even just an emotion you're feeling.
Like feeling stressed and reaching for a snack.
Exactly. Then comes the routine, which is the actual behavior itself. So that would be eating the snack.
And then the reward, which is the good feeling you get from the snack.
Right. And each time you go through this loop, the connection between the cue, the routine, and the reward gets stronger.
So it becomes more and more automatic.
Exactly. Your brain starts anticipating that reward and craving it, which makes you more likely to repeat the behavior.
And our brains are pretty efficient, right? They live to conserve energy.
Oh, yeah, big time. So when a habit gets repeated enough, it gets stored in a part of the brain called the basal ganglia, which is basically the control center for automatic behaviors.
So it takes less brain power to do it.
Exactly. That's why ingrained habits feel so effortless. You don't have to think about them, you just do them.
Like tying your shoes. You don't have to relearn it every morning.
Or driving a car. Once you've learned it, it becomes second nature.
And that's the kind of automaticity we want to build with the habits that support our goals.
Right, because it takes the pressure off willpower and motivation.
Yeah. Which brings us back to why relying solely on motivation can be so tough. It's fleeting.
It's like the weather. One day it's sunny and you're full of energy, the next day it's pouring and you just want to stay in bed.
And you can't control the weather.
Exactly. So if you only take action when you're feeling motivated, you're going to be at the mercy of those mood swings.
It makes sense to have a more reliable system.
Yeah, a system that works rain or shine. Motivation can be great for that initial push, but habits are what keep you going long term.
It's like training for a marathon. You can't just rely on a sudden gust of wind to carry you 26 miles.
You need a consistent training plan day after day.
Those daily runs, those early mornings, that's what gets you to the finish line.
Not just hoping for some magical burst of energy on race day.
And it's not just about athletics either. This applies to anything we want to achieve in life.
It's about building those small, consistent actions into our daily routines.
Instead of waiting for some grand moment of inspiration.
So let's look at some real-world examples of how this works in practice. You know, one of the thinkers, you sent us some notes on James Clear. He talks about this in his book, Atomic Habits.
He has this great quote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems."
Yeah, I love that. And he gives a simple but powerful example of someone who wanted to become a runner. They didn't start by trying to run 5 miles every day. They just focused on putting on their running shoes each morning.
That's it. Just putting on their shoes.
Yeah, and you know what? That tiny action done consistently, it eventually led to them becoming a regular runner.
Because it made that first step so much easier.
Right. It removed all the pressure and overwhelm and just focused on one tiny doable thing.
It's like tricking your brain into getting started.
Exactly. And then there's the amazing story of the British cycling team. They used to be pretty average, but then they adopted this philosophy of making tiny 1% improvements in every area.
Diet, training equipment, even the pillows they slept on.
Yeah, they focused on those small daily habits applied consistently, and it led them to win a ton of Olympic gold medals.
It's proof that small changes can lead to huge results.
And it's not just for elite athletes. We heard from a listener who struggled with keeping a journal for years. They'd start strong, then fizzle out. What finally worked was committing to writing just one sentence every night.
Just one sentence.
That's all, because it was so easy they could actually do it consistently. And over time, that one sentence often turned into longer entries.
It's about finding that sweet spot between challenging and doable.
Exactly. So the key takeaway here is to shift our focus from those big motivational pushes to building effective, sustainable systems based on habits.
Our systems are what drive our results.
And it all starts with understanding the difference between goals and systems. Goals are what the desired outcome, but systems are the daily habits that get you there.
It's like if your goal is to read 30 books this year, your system might be reading 10 pages every morning with your coffee.
Or if your goal is to get fitter, your system could be working out for 20 minutes after lunch every weekday.
It's about breaking those big goals down into manageable daily actions.
And the beauty of systems is that they take the pressure off constantly needing to feel motivated.
You just follow the system, and the results tend to follow.
So what are some practical strategies for building better habits?
Well, as we've talked about, starting small is crucial.
Like ridiculously small.
Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Instead, focus on one tiny habit at a time.
Like James Clear's put on your shoes method.
Exactly. Make it so easy you can't say no.
And there's this really cool technique called habit stacking, which is basically piggybacking a new habit onto an existing one.
BJ Fogg talks about this in his book, Tiny Habits.
Yeah, the idea is to use an existing routine as a trigger for the new behavior. Like, after I brush my teeth, I'll meditate for 1 minute.
Or, after I make my coffee, I'll write down 3 things I'm grateful for.
It's a way of using your existing brain patterns to your advantage.
And making your environment work for you is huge, too.
Oh yeah, our surroundings have a big impact on our behavior.
So make those good habits visible and easy to do.
Like leaving your workout clothes out or putting a book on your pillow.
And make those bad habits harder by removing temptations.
Like not keeping junk food in the house if you're trying to eat healthier.
Tracking your progress can also be really motivating.
Even if it's just a simple checklist, seeing those little wins add up can keep you going.
And don't forget to reward yourself. It reinforces that positive connection in your brain.
But remember, be patient with yourself. Habits take time to form.
There will be slip-ups. It's all part of the process.
Just get back on track and keep going. Consistency is key.
We've heard some really inspiring examples from listeners about small habits that have made a big difference in their lives.
Yeah, one person shared that taking a short walk every day has helped them manage their anxiety more than anything else.
Another listener said that setting out their clothes the night before has totally transformed their mornings.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can have a ripple effect.
And someone else started a gratitude practice, writing down 3 things they're grateful for each day, and noticed a huge improvement in their mood.
So don't underestimate the power of small, consistent actions.
They really can add up to create big changes.
Now, if you're interested in exploring this topic further, there are some great resources out there.
James Clear's Atomic Habits and Charles Duhigg's The Power of Habit are both fantastic.
And BJ Fogg's Tiny Habits is a great read, too.
And there are tons of habit tracking apps out there that can be really helpful.
So the bottom line is this: stop waiting for motivation to strike. Focus on building those solid systems based on small, consistent habits.
They're the secret to making real, lasting change.
Habits work even when willpower fails us.
They become our autopilot, guiding us towards our goals.
So take a minute and think about your own habits. Are they helping you or holding you back?
What small habit could you start building today that would move you closer to the life you want?
Because building the life you want isn't about some massive superhuman effort.
It's about showing up consistently day after day.
It's about those small actions, those tiny habits that compound over time and create extraordinary results.
So focus on the doing, on the consistent practice.
And trust that the results will follow.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
We hope this has given you some new insights into the power of habits.
Now go out there and start building some awesome habits.
Until next time.
See you then.